Hey nerds! It's Geeks of Cascadia. Geeks of Cascadia. Geeks of Cascadia. Exclusive tabletop game podcast for the Pacific Northwest. All levels of gamers. Analog gaming. Tabletop news. Dungeons and Dragons and magic. Stupid, mindless banter.
There will definitely be some. That's probably our best. That's our best feature.
You are listening to the Geeks of Cascadia podcast, featuring Steve Hobbs, Paul Anderson, and Joe Costa.
Hey geeks, Blue Samurai here. It is episode 30, and of course I'm with my co-hosts.
You can go.
I'm still Paul here.
And the Costasaurus.
We don't script this at all.
I totally threw a wrench in there.
Yeah.
That's the other
Yes. And we have a great, well, first of all, if you don't know about our podcast, where have you been for the last 30 episodes plus? But we are your podcast to tabletop gaming news, mainly around the Pacific Northwest, but we've talked to game designers, artists, game store owners, Kickstarter entrepreneurs, I don't know, all kinds of things.
People who just play games.
Yeah. Sometimes we just go to different countries and check out their game stores.
Yeah, we do it all the time.
All the time.
Mainly Estonia.
Because we get so much podcast money.
Mainly Estonia, though.
But guys, what do we got going on for the show today?
Well, today we talked to, while you were in Estonia, I sat down with Ryan Lopez. He's the co-designer of the Scythe expansion called the Rise of Fenris.
Oh, that's right. Both of you guys interviewed him. And I know Joe loves that guy.
Joe loves Scythe.
I wish I did. I totally flaked on that one.
He didn't make it. It's okay.
Thanks, Adam.
Now, being sick is no reason, because I could have remembered to tell Paul, but honestly, I just absolutely forgot. I got off early, I went home, I laid down, and I got a text from Paul that said, please tell me you're on your way.
Yeah.
And I instantly, my anxiety levels went up, and I felt horrible.
That's okay. If I had known that you weren't coming, I would have chickened out and rescheduled, and then we would still be rescheduling the interview. But
I actually had a nightmare that the same thing happened for this one that I forgot.
God.
I'm not even kidding. I had a nightmare the night before last night about that. Yeah.
Well, just remember, when you don't come in, you don't get that sponsor money.
Yeah, that's right.
I am bummed out that I couldn't be here for that, because that is in my top 3 games.
The good news is you can watch it on YouTube.
Yes, you can. Or listen in on the podcast.
Or both at the same time.
Yes. So what do we got for news? Con news.
Yeah, well, we have a little con called OrcaCon, which is the furthest out that we're going to talk about.
Yes.
And that is on January 11th through the 13th. So that will be a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That will be at the Hilton Bellevue in Bellevue, Washington. I would advise listeners, get registration, get some of those hotel rooms. The hotel has given us amazing rates for the con, and
the rooms are filling up fast.
Yes. I missed out.
And if you don't get a room, though, there's also a Red Lion next door.
Well,
but try to get to
there's rooms in the hotel.
Yes,
I got
try to get to the
one.
Just don't get the special price if you don't
Right.
get into the room rate.
Right.
Yeah, and so I hit that up pretty fast after our last meeting.
Yeah, me too.
So I got a couch if anybody wants to stand there. Listeners, just give me a call and come to my room.
That's how horror movies start. That's totally how they start. Yeah.
Yes, there you go.
Night with Hobbs.
Yes.
Hobbs End. Yeah.
So what else do we got for?
Yeah.
By the way, that's a movie, Hobbs End.
Yeah. Well, is it?
It's a horror movie.
I remember it.
A bee.
I'm sure it is.
maybe a
I
sea
remember
level.
it as the town from a movie that had Sam Neill in it, In the Mouth of Madness, and about a writer who wrote horror books. Turns out they were real. Took place in the made-up town that he created in the Hobbs End. Anyways, huge rabbit trail. But the some other cons that we have now this summer, there's going to be a bunch of different cons, of course. It's going to be the season coming up. But a big one for locally for us is going to be PAX. That's going to be in August. So that'll be August 31st to September 3rd. And that's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
And usually we have a table there at Community Row. I don't know if we will this year, but check us out.
Yeah, that's we've had a table there at Community Row the last few years, and it's awesome. Great people. It does have a heavy focus on video games, but there's a good amount of tabletop games there. I can't say for this year, I don't know for sure, but I know Daily Magic, a local game company who is awesome and has like the sweetest people that work for them. They've been there the last few times I've been there, and just so they're going to be there. There's been lots of companies there, so
Cool.
That's another big one there. Yeah.
And?
There might be one called Dragonfly.
Yes, there we go,
Dragonfly.
Dragonfly.
Yeah,
one of our sponsors.
There's also Dragonfly coming up. But I always have trouble finding the actual date for
It's
it.
the 24th, 25th, and 26th of August.
Yes.
Thank
I
you.
only know that because I'm not allowed to go on the 24th because it's my birthday.
There it is. Yep.
What better way to
24th.
celebrate your birthday than tabletop gaming,
I
Paul?
know.
And Dragonfly is awesome. It's
Oh, man.
It is awesome.
If you go to Dragonflight this year, then you'll know exactly where OrcaCon will be. Next year, it's the exact same location. Both places are really friendly. And great places to just game
Totally.
and play.
We'll be there.
We
Yeah.
won't be
Well,
there.
you won't be there for the first day.
No, I won't be there for the first day. I'm hoping to be there the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yes.
I think we're going to have a table. I keep forgetting to email them. I'm going to remember to do that maybe tomorrow
Yes,
to get
okay.
us a table.
All right.
I talked to Mark.
Tomorrow, very relative for our
But I
listeners.
wanted to officially get that in. I'm going to remember to do that.
Excellent.
Also, I found out today, I don't even know how I found out, there's this Kickstarter that ended yesterday for this convention called Opticon over on the Olympic Peninsula. And their Kickstarter, they doubled their goal.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
it's just a straight-up board game convention, and it's August 3rd, 4th, and 5th in Sequim, Washington. And that sounds really cool. Love new cons, love more games.
Maybe we should check it out.
Yes, and I wish I would have known about it earlier. I've been plugging this every other week on the podcast. But
Good. Well,
there we
maybe
go.
they. You know, we should try to interview them. Maybe
We should.
All
Maybe
right.
we can meet halfway.
Call us.
Yes.
Call
Yes.
us.
We can meet halfway.
We're desperate. We need content anyway.
And I can go into some Kickstarter stuff. I got
Yeah,
some
let's
stuff to
do
do
that.
that.
Let's do some Kickstarter stuff.
Kickstarter corner.
It depends on when this goes out, though. What are we thinking, fellas, for when this is
I
gonna
don't
hit?
know.
I'm hoping next week. I'm gonna have a little time on
Wow.
my hands.
Like on Monday?
Maybe on Monday.
If this
Can't
comes
do it
out on
early?
Monday,
Oh.
I'm gonna be in Soap Lake.
well, let's say this.
Take your computer to
If-
I'm
Soap
going
Lake,
to edit it. I'm
man.
going to edit it there.
If this
Oh.
comes
there's
out,
no Wi-Fi.
There's Starbucks.
There's
if
no
this comes out
Starbucks.
within 8 days,
Man, we pay you good money.
Have you been to
I
Soap
can't
Lake?
believe this.
no, but it sounds like
No,
a
but I
really
should.
clean lake. If you hear this within 8 days of May 28th, there's a local company who is on Kickstarter right now. They've been on it before and they've been very successful. They do an RPG. It's an all ages RPG, and they have just really short campaigns that you can do. It's great. I'm gonna be picking this up. I don't know if it'll be through here or if it's just going to be at a con, but I want to get it for my classroom. It fits within the age range. It's 5 and up, but it's called No Thank You Evil, and it's not just an RPG for kids. It's like an RPG that kids can play with adults.
Cool.
You're creating your own heroes. I mean, everything you would think from RPG games, and then you're going through and you have somebody, who is the game master who's leading it. It's really awesome, and they're a Kickstarter right now. They're also local, Seattle company. They were at the first OrcaCon. We're hoping to get them back this year. If we already have, I am not aware if we have or have not, but I know that we wanted to. They're really great. So they are on Kickstarter, and they're not at their goal yet. They're at $27,000 as of the time of this, and their goal is 40. I've only heard just really, really great stuff about that.
Man, they should come talk to us.
Should.
I'd love to talk to them.
Another big one is for people who like the One Night Ultimate Werewolf. You guys ever played that?
No.
It is really, really fun. It is a social
That's what I
deduction
hear.
game, aka You Gotta Lie. Some people can't play it because they feel
They're not
guilty
gonna-
for
they're not
lying.
gonna lie, yeah.
And for me, sadly enough, I feel like I'm good at it. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing to be good at a game that you lie a lot at.
No, I think it's great. I think it's good. Like at Navy Day, we were playing the Resistance.
Yeah,
And
same
and
concept,
yeah.
Steve and I were the spies.
That's right. We were good.
we were
so good.
We killed them.
We did.
That was
It
great.
was awesome.
So it's like that,
Yeah.
but it's in 5-minute games.
Okay.
Essentially it's Mafia. Remember the card game Mafia? Where you use
the
cards?
card game. Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. But anyways, they have one called 1 Week Ultimate werewolf. So it's 1 week, and this one has a lot more components to it. They're doing just fine on Kickstarter right now, but I know that's one that they do give exclusives and things like that. Their goal was $10,000. They're at $122,587,000.
That's a hootie.
Yeah.
Bananas money.
And then the other one I want to talk about, because she was the illustrator for this, was our special guest last year, Beth Sobel.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And so there's a game from Eduardo Boraz, and then she does the illustration for it, and it's called Herbaceous Sprouts. So they've done a card game called Herbaceous before, but in this one, Herbaceous Sprouts, you're actually having a main center garden, and you are collecting seeds. It's kind of like a set collection. You're collecting seeds, and you're using different tools, and you're trying to grow different herbs and flowers to score points. Of course, the art is just gorgeous, but that's another Kickstarter up right now for people who are relatively local. So
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
That's
Yeah.
cool. All right. Well, I think we got everything in.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the game we're going to review later?
Oh, yes.
Let's tease that a little
What do we
bit.
got? What do we got going on there?
We've got a game review coming up with Doug and Kelly, and that is called Rise of the Ganges. And I think it must be relatively new because people haven't heard of it yet.
I
haven't
haven't heard of it.
I talking to Gwen. We're around the table talking to
Yeah.
Gwen. Gwen hasn't heard of it, so
And is this-
it's like it must be a new thing.
Does this have to do with the Gamgee family, like from Sam Gamgee's family?
No, it's the Ganges. It's the river Ganges in India.
Okay.
Rajas of the
Right.
Ganges.
Right.
Yes.
Got it. Okay,
Okay.
so it's not a Hobbit Lord of the Ring game.
No, it's a worker
Got it.
placement dice thing. So
Sounds interesting. Okay. It was on Kickstarter or?
I don't know.
No. Okay. All right. Well, I guess I'll just
we're,
watch
we're,
the video.
we're going
right?
to find out.
That's right.
I listen to the podcast. There we go.
And then you get that's right. And then you're doing the interview. So what do we want to do first?
Let's do Ryan Lopez first. He's been waiting long enough.
He
I
has
did him a
been.
long time ago.
All right. Let's do that.
All right, cool.
Mr. Lopez. I
All
like
right.
that.
Ryan, what do you guys say?
Here we go. Hey nerds, we are here with Ryan Lopez. He is co-developer of the new Scythe expansion. How's it going, Ryan?
It's great. Thanks for having me.
Oh,
I'm excited to be here.
Thank you for coming to meet with me. Well, unfortunately, neither Blue Samurai nor the Costosaurus are here, so we're going to do our best.
Just a one-on-one, that's fine.
Really lean on those guys. You're working on the Scythe expansion. That's really exciting. But first, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Boise, Idaho, and then after college, I taught English in Japan for a year and then after returning from that, I moved to Colorado, lived there for about 10 years, and then just
Wow.
moved out here. It'll be 4 years ago this summer, September. So I've just been out here for a few years.
You're just new to the area.
Yeah, newish, yeah.
Yeah.
So moved
Cool.
out of here, promptly had a kid, and just had our second kid about
Awesome.
8 weeks ago. So
That's great. That's
yeah,
great.
it's a busy time.
I
you know.
bet. Yeah. Plus, working on games and stuff.
Yes.
And
yeah, that's
you,
been exciting.
and you, of course, like most game developers, have a day job.
Yes, I am a high school English teacher here
Yeah.
in the Snohomish School
That's
District out here.
really cool, very important.
Yeah, I try.
Too bad Joe's not here because Joe's an elementary school teacher.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Excellent.
yeah.
Yes.
But so teachers, most props. Great.
Well, thanks.
That's very cool. Scythe is a big, very cool thing that everyone's excited about
Yeah.
and enjoy. How did you end up working on the expansion?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. When I first was able to tell people about the fact that I had worked on it, I always felt like I was lying.
Yeah, yeah.
I would tell, and I told, we're at around the table. I just live a few minutes from here, and I told Tim, the owner here, one time, and as I was telling him, I almost started laughing because I was like, "This sounds like a filthy lie. Like it sounds like the worst thing in the world."
Getting away from the imposter syndrome.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just so
Right.
hard.
So anyway, my road to this is kind of unusual, and I have to give a lot of credit, honestly, to Jamie Stonemaier because I am at least the second of 3 or 4 fans he's worked with on projects, and I just don't think that's normal in the industry, from what I can tell.
Yeah.
But I had so Scythe came out in August of 2016. I was a Kickstarter backer.
Okay.
So I got my copy. I actually got it early, like a lot of us did in July, but I was out of town, so that was awful. And I had to sit there just wait
Oh,
to
God,
play my
yes.
game that I've been anticipating.
I've had that happen.
Yeah. And so, anyway, long story short, there was some talk early on that it would be a great campaign style or legacy style game. Like some people were like, ooh, it'd be great to have a Scythe legacy game or something.
Yeah.
And I thought that too. That would be really cool.
Yeah.
And then Morten Monrad Peterson, the designer, he's the founder of the Atoma Factory, who does all the solo modes for the Stonemaier Games.
Okay.
And he's done a few other games as well. He posted a thread on Board Game Geek that said it was something to the effect of completely untested Scythe Atoma campaign or something.
Okay.
And the original thread was basically just a list of like 10 sort of loosely connected scenarios that were like challenges basically for the solo players.
Yeah.
And I was looking through that and I thought, I could do this. I could make some challenges for players to play, and they could, whatever, make people look at the game a little differently. So I sort of mulled it over for a week or so, and then just kind of got a bunch of ideas, and in a big flurry of activity over, 4 or 5 days, put together a first draft of a Scythe multiplayer campaign.
Cool.
And I really wanted it to have like a story element that kind of connected it. My original campaign was kind of so Scythe takes place in this alternate history post World War I, 1920s.
Yeah.
And my story was kind of like, all right, so World War II is virtually an inevitability, partly because that's how we are as people.
Yes.
And so I sort of told the story. Each game was 11 games long ultimately, and each game kind of represented a year of gameplay or whatever, or time, in a story that kind of built toward a potential World War World War II. And so I posted that to the Board Game Geek group, and Jamie said some nice things about it, and then said he would share it to the Facebook group, the Scythe Facebook group, and then I said, oh right, there's a Scythe Facebook group, I should join that. And and then from there it got a lot of buzz for a week or two, and then sort of just disappeared. I got a little bit of feedback from people, but when I posted it, I said, look, I don't have time to play test this. I think it's basically okay, but it has probably some holes. I had done a little bit of play testing, but not extensive.
Yeah.
And I was hoping the community would help. And it takes time to get to a campaign type thing, and that was early in the Scythe life cycle. So I didn't hear a whole lot of feedback, and it just sort of died down. And then roll around to, that was in October, November of 2016, roll around to late January, early February of 2017, I had sent Jamie an email just out of the blue because I had been seeing some things online that I thought, oh, that's some kind of complaints or criticisms and things like that. People like posting about wanting to have replacement parts for games and stuff like that.
So just general Scythe comments.
Yeah, just general Scythe comments. But it felt like, I don't know what it was. I don't remember exactly. It just felt like Jamie seemed to be dealing with a lot of, grief is too strong of a word, but like...
Oh yeah, well,
we don't say nice things on the internet all the time.
No, we
Even
don't.
big fans don't always.
Yes, yeah.
And it wasn't like
fans.
Yeah, and Jamie's awesome. It wasn't like it was something he couldn't handle or anything. But I had been reading his old blogs about why he quit Kickstarter, also around the same time, and I thought, I don't know, we should say more nice things. So I looked him up on Board Game Geek, and I just sent him an email and said, hey, Jamie, I just want to say, like, I think you're doing a great job, and this game is awesome, and I love it. And I said, look, you're busy. You don't have to email me back. I understand. Yeah. But he's amazing, and he emailed me back like the next day or the same day, and said, hey, thanks. It means a lot to me. And then a day later, he said, by the way, are you the same Ryan Lopez who designed the Scythe fan campaign? And I said, he said, if so, I want to talk to you about something.
Wow. What did that feel?
That was a super weird moment in my life. Yes. Yeah. Because at first, it wasn't actually till later that I thought he could have been annoyed about something. But he had said nice things, so I kind of knew he wasn't. But this was like 3 months later, just out of the blue, no contact.
Yeah. And he remembered your name.
Just like 3 months later, And so I thought he must be making a campaign game expansion, and maybe he wanted to use one of my scenarios or something. Yeah. And so I emailed him back. He sent me his private email account, and I emailed him through mine. Yeah. And
I share that with us now, right?
Yeah. And I emailed him, and he said, I just said, yeah, that was me. What's up? Something to that effect. And he sent me this long email back, basically saying, yeah, I'd like to do it. There's a lot of fan interest. I think it would be good.
Cool.
He's very responsive to fan interest. And he said, basically, I don't have time to do it alone.
Yeah.
And I realized later that he was probably, I don't know for sure, I never actually asked him, but I think he was in the middle of his Charterstone playtesting.
Okay.
And I know Charterstone was a huge endeavor for him, so
Yeah.
that playtesting must have been brutal. It's a legacy game, and I imagine that's going to be tough.
Yes, I can't imagine.
Yeah. So he basically said, I need somebody to help me out with things like story and stuff. And I said, yes, 1,000 times yes.
Yeah.
And because you don't say no to that opportunity.
Yeah.
And so, that's how it started. It was just a random interaction.
That's
like
so
3
cool.
months
So
after the
there's
fact, so.
there's hope for people
Yeah.
who want to participate in the creation of games.
Yeah.
You go ahead and make that leap. Make a thing.
Right. And
That's so cool.
It's kind of interesting because I just did it for kicks.
Yeah.
I just thought it would be fun. But it is something a lot of people say. I've heard other designers, like I know on the Ludology podcast, Jeff Engelstein has said before, like, take a game you like and make a fan expansion or change something about it. And that's what I did. And I can see where that would work. I don't know that it would work with every company necessarily. And as I said at the beginning, I want to give Jamie credit because I could have been a lunatic.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I like to think that I'm not. But like, he didn't know.
Yeah.
He just contacted. He just reached out to me, and he did the same thing with the second Scythe expansion. The Wind Gambit was a fan expansion. It started as a fan expansion for airships.
Okay.
He reached out to Kai Stark, who lives in Germany, and said, "Let's do this." Basically, and again, like
That's
a
cool.
huge risk. Yeah, and then he's done it again with My Little Scythe, which was recently announced in his newsletter. It's like a basically family-friendly variant.
Cool.
That was based on a fan game that Hobie Chow up in Vancouver made.
Wow.
And he got together with Jamie, or Jamie got together with Hobie and said, basically, let's do this. And again, that was a different thing because that was a separate game. And they're both pretty clear that this is not Scythe. It's sort of a spiritual inspiration, but it's its own unique game. It's not just like simple Scythe.
Yeah.
It's got its own mechanisms and everything. But with the Wind Gambit and the Rise of Fenris, I don't think I ever said the name. People probably know. With the Rise of Fenris and the Wind Gambit, this was kind of Jamie's baby. Like, this is his big game.
Yeah.
Kind of a tentpole for his company. And
to reach out and share that with someone.
To give somebody else to reach out and share that with somebody else, and give them a fair amount of creative control. Like, I didn't have any meaningful limitations that he imposed on me, and he really let me run wild until about September. And it was right around. So he contacted me in February. Like February, the date it's up there with my children's birthdays. It's February 2nd. He sent that email, and I was just like blown away.
Oh, I bet.
And from February 2nd until like September, October, I mean, he gave me feedback, and he said, "This is the direction I want to go. This is not so much the direction I want to go." But he didn't impose any meaningful limitations. He let me sort of feel around.
Cool.
Yeah, so I did a lot of feeling around, exploring, throwing ideas out there, working with them, saying, "No, I don't think this is going to work," or whatever. And he was pretty supportive, and he gave his feedback on everything. But he never just like put his foot down and said no.
Okay.
Along the process. Now, it's possible I just like mind melded with him and went a direction he wanted to see us go. But either way, he was very generous with the creative part of it, which is great.
So awesome.
Yeah. And then he came in September, October, and started like putting his stamp on it, and it was amazing. It was like, it's like basketball's my sport, so it's like watching a basketball game and going, I mean, LeBron James is a pretty good player, or Michael Jordan's a pretty good player.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they realize they're 8 minutes into the third quarter, and they go, I don't want to lose this game anymore, and they just find this other level and just destroy everybody and just sort of end the game before the third quarter's over, and you go, oh, that's right, one of the best.
That's right. Yeah.
And that's how I felt about Jamie. He came in and he just sort of let me go, and he's like, yeah, what about this, and gave me some feedback and gave me some pushes in different directions, but mostly just let me go. And then he started doing stuff, and I was just like, you just saved me months.
Yeah.
It would have taken me forever to get here, and you just did it in an email.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
That's
and
cool.
the final product is just infinitely better because of his contributions. All I basically ended up doing was the groundwork.
Well,
I wrote the narrative. I wrote the stories, which was I think the main reason he contacted me to write the story. But I had just sort of run with design stuff too.
Cool.
And I laid the groundwork with the design, but man, all the polish came. It was amazing to watch it happen. Every email, I was just like,
wow.
how do you think of this stuff? I don't know. How do you clean this stuff up? My stuff is clunky. Your stuff is smooth. Here we are.
Experience and all that.
Yeah,
wow.
I know, right?
Cool. So what, with no spoilers,
Yeah.
what can you tell us about the expansion?
So, as a lot of people probably know a lot of it already,
Okay.
and as Jamie has announced, it'll be the full rule book will be available May 30th, I think, May 30th, 31st.
Cool.
In his newsletter, he'll announce it in his newsletter. Go to Stonemaier Games if you want to get to that newsletter.
Yeah. Yes.
But it's so it's a narrative campaign expansion, kind of a narrative-based campaign expansion. It was very important to him from the beginning that it be narrative-driven, not just a series of kind of clever game mechanisms.
Yeah.
And so we really started from that. I struggled for a little while early on, and then finally I just sat down and wrote a short story.
Okay.
So I need to know what's going on here. Some of the episodes weren't connecting well, and I was having some trouble with things, and we were at 9 or 10 episodes. That short story ended up sort of, once I started transplanted it over, it reduced it down to 8 was the final number. And it kind of follows the post-Great War, but not in the same direction my fan campaign did, where it kind of inevitably leads to World War II.
Yeah.
It follows a whole new storyline and directly imported from Jakub Rosalski's notes. So Jakub is the artist who created all the world of 1920 plus.
Okay.
That's the artwork that inspired the original Scythe game.
Okay.
So early in the process, Jamie sent me a message with a bunch of notes that Jakub had for the storyline, basically. These are notes that he put together while they were designing previous game and expansion. Yeah. And a lot of it was stuff that, like the name Fenris, for example, without spoiling what that is, comes from those notes.
Okay.
And some other stuff comes from those notes. A lot of people may not realize, although it's public knowledge, that Nikola Tesla is the founder of the factory in the game. And that is public knowledge, but it's in the art book, and I think a lot of people, and it's on the Stonemaier website, but I think a lot of people haven't explored that.
Okay.
So Nikola Tesla plays a role in the story. This Fenris entity.
Is there a death ray? Is there a Tesla death ray? Can you tell me that?
I'm not going to say anything about confirming or denying death rays in the game. But anyway, so those elements, all of the story elements basically came from notes that Jakub sent me. They were very, very much a skeletal outline.
Okay.
But, and then I also went back, I have the art book from the Kickstarter, and I went back and scoured the art book looking for paintings that might be inspirational for certain scenes and things like that. Yeah. And so there's actually one scene in particular that I can recall that I specifically gave the story of. Okay. And fortunately, that scene has the painting attached to it in the rule book and everything. It's very nice.
Awesome.
So so it's really a narrative-driven story, but it's all new stuff. It doesn't explore the backgrounds of the existing characters as much as some people might have expected.
Okay.
That was something we considered when we were going through the design process. Sort of kind of ended up a cutting room floor.
You can't always do everything.
You can't, and we didn't want to bog it down.
Yeah.
And writing those storylines was going to be a tremendous amount of effort for gameplay wise, what would have amounted to flavor text.
Okay, yeah.
But extended flavor text, and I think people would have liked it, but they would have liked it for the reasons people like flavor text.
Yeah.
And it might have actually set the production back by weeks or months to get through. It was a lot of work, I realized, and I finally had to just can it, and Jamie supported that decision.
That makes sense sometimes.
So but the expansion is very story driven, but you don't have to play the campaign at all. It's got 11 modules that you can play, plus some other goodies I'm not going to spoil that aren't considered modules.
Okay.
And you don't have to play the campaign at all. You could just open it up and start ripping into stuff and say, what's going on here? There's a page at the end of the rule book, somewhere in the back of the rule book, that lists all of the different gameplay modules and what pages they're found on. Because the rule book is comprehensive. In the other side of the rule books, the Atomo, which is for solo mode, was a separate rule book. Because of the campaign nature, it's integrated to this rule book. So every episode has its own Atomo rules. All right. So there's a list at the back about where to find the rules for everything if you just want to dive in or if you need a reference.
Okay.
And some of those modules are going to be great. I think 2 to 4 of those modules would be the kind of thing that people could almost integrate into every game they play.
Wow.
So like for those who know, the Wind Gambit expansion has the airships and the resolution tiles, and you can put those airships in every game.
Okay.
Some people might not use them much in a given game. Some
Yeah.
people might use them a ton, and like even within a game, I might use my airship a ton, and you might ignore it entirely,
Okay.
just depending on play styles.
Yeah.
And in that same kind of vein, I think there's probably 2 or 3 at least of these modules that you could just put in every game, and maybe you go nuts with it this time, and maybe I just kind of go, it didn't really work out for me.
It's great that you can play your way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Sometimes you sit down and play a game, like, here's these things you have to do to
Right.
achieve this thing and get these victory points.
Right.
And it's like, well, meh, that's not really what I do.
Right.
Like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and some of it will fundamentally change not how you play the game, but how you interact, I guess, with the game and with the mechanisms in pretty exciting ways. A couple of things that Jamie dropped at the very last minute, his designs I didn't even have input on.
Yeah.
I learned of them and I was like, goodness gracious, this is amazing. One was the co-op mode, and I did have a little bit of input on that and just doing some testing and stuff with that. The co-op mode he's already announced. It's pretty exciting. It's going to be a fun thing. It's not like Revolution. I don't think too many people will say, I only want to play Scythe with the co-op mode.
Yeah.
But it's a really cool option, like a really neat challenge. And I'm super excited that we put that in because I know people have expressed an interest in that.
I personally very much like co-ops.
Yeah,
So trying to get my wife to play a game. It's like, if we can participate together,
Right.
that works a lot better than we're fighting each other.
Right, yeah. And this co-op's great because it's basically, there's a few rules changes, but it's basically just a game of Scythe. Like, it's not huge rules changes. You're just sort of playing against the game as a co-op is. You kind of have a mutual enemy, and you're working, it's a little bit of a race against a clock, and it's a really cool system. The other thing he did at the last minute, this is even later, I won't say what it is, but it's amazing.
Is it zombies?
It's not zombies, I will
Okay.
say that. I will say there are no zombies in this expansion.
Good.
Sorry.
I hate zombies. Take that, Axis and Allies. I hate zombies.
So anyway, there's a lot of modules. People have asked, could you combine them all? And not only would you not want to, but actually you can't. Some of them are mutually exclusive. But without giving too much away, we have modules that will increase the combat aspect of the game, which some people have complained about. They want more combat. It's a game with these giant mechs, and I personally love it as is. Like, it's kind of a Cold War game. Like, I don't like what you're doing, so I'm going to camp my combat units next to you to make you nervous and make you wonder when I'm going to attack.
Cool.
I have no intention of attacking you. It's just to freak you out, right? I like that part of the game, the psychological warfare of the game. But some people want more combat, so we have modules that will actually increase that, which is pretty exciting. And we have a module or two that will reduce the combat. Like, if you feel it's too combative, and you're a little more of a peace and love kind of player, we have at least one module in there that will allow players to, it doesn't eliminate it, but it de-emphasizes.
Well, that's interesting. That's cool.
So, and in de-emphasizing the combat, it emphasizes other things that people may not have always paid as much attention to. So, so that's pretty exciting. I really think there's something for everyone. It was important to both of us from the beginning that the campaign not just be a standalone thing. Originally, our idea was you could go back and replay a scenario from the campaign. We moved away from that in favor of this modular system where you can sort of just say, I really liked these 3 elements. And play with these frequently. And there'll probably be 2 or 3 that every group just sort of says, nah, it's not my thing. But, I mean, there's 11 in there. So
that's great.
You're going to find, and many of them are pretty small. A few of them are pretty substantial. As far as how they impact or influence the game. But I really think there's something for everyone, and I think there's more than one thing for everyone.
It sounds really cool.
I'm very excited.
It does sound very cool. So what's the target date?
The release of the expansion will be in August. I think they're going to have copies at Gen Con to sell.
Awesome.
Pre-orders will, so I believe it's May 30th is the announcement, the official announcement for the expansions, like pre-ordering everything. And if he follows the same model that he followed for My Little Scythe, which he just announced this month, I imagine pre-orders will be open for a week to 2 weeks, a week and a half, something like that.
Very cool.
That you can do directly through the Stonemaier website. And he has
Stonemaier.com.
I believe it's Stonemaier. I probably should have looked that up.
I believe it's as well.
Or Stonemaier Games, something. Google Stonemaier Games, you'll find it. You'll figure it out. But anyway, he actually just launched this cool new program. It's like $12 a year. I'm really not trying to shill for Stonemaier here, but it's a cool program.
Yeah.
For like $12 a year, you get, if you order directly through Stonemaier, you get free shipping, you get a discount, I believe, on your orders.
Cool.
And you get, on pre-releases, you get early shipping. So
Oh,
if you order
wow.
in the pre-release window,
I love that.
no guarantees, I'm not Jamie, you might have the game before Gen Con.
Wow.
So
So is there like Gen Con pickup?
that will be separate. So
Okay.
Jamie does not, I do know this, Jamie does not do a Gen Con pickup.
Okay.
I believe MeepleSource is doing a Gen Con pickup for My Little Scythe.
Okay.
I have a feeling they'll also do a Gen Con pickup for the Rise of Fenris.
Okay.
But if you order directly through Stonemaier, it'll come to your house.
That's
I
cool.
believe before, I suspect before Gen Con. If not before, then before retail at
Yeah,
least.
well, that's very cool. I know it's like, if I'm at a convention. I don't. Me personally, I like
Carry the
small
stuff home.
conventions. I don't want to carry a bunch of stuff.
Right, yeah.
It's like, can I just get this at my house?
Right.
So
So
yeah.
retail release will be shortly after Gen Con, either August or very early September, I
Okay.
imagine.
Very cool.
And if you order through Stonemaier, you should get it before then at least.
Okay, so Joe, I know you're listening to the podcast, so I know you want this Costosaurus. So pre-order through Stonemaier.com.
That's right.
Yes,
there you go.
or whatever it's called.
Join the Stonemaier Champions program.
Do it,
and
Joe.
get free shipping.
Joe. Okay, cool. Well,
So,
Ryan, this has been fantastic.
yeah, thanks so much for
Thank
having
you
me.
for having me. Are you on socials and stuff for so people can contact
Yeah, so I
you?
float around, and in case it wasn't clear, I'm another local guy here. That's why I wanted to
Yeah.
contact you guys.
Yeah.
I just live here in Linwood, Washington, but
Cool.
I'm pretty prolific, at least as a watcher on the board game group,
Yeah,
board
me
game
too.
geek
Me too.
pages for Scythe. I don't contribute as much as maybe I could because I generally just defer to Jamie. He's
Yeah.
so fast, like
Yeah.
half the time I couldn't beat him if I wanted to.
Yeah.
And I am also really a frequent visitor on the Scythe Facebook group,
Cool.
so you can find me on there as well. I don't otherwise have like any kind of board game related social media presence
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I'm just a high school English teacher who got super lucky.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, I hear you.
So yeah, but it's super exciting, and I think people are going to really find it rewarding and satisfying. And I really hope this is just a plea from me, the co-designer. When the rule book is released, you have access to the whole rule book, but please, you can read up to about page 13 with minimal spoilers. There's a couple spoilers in
Yeah.
the middle there, like page 5 and 6 or something like that. Do yourself a favor and don't.
Don't spoil it.
Don't spoil it.
Don't spoil it.
It's gonna be fun. We've got some surprises. Hopefully there will be some whoa moments in there and
yeah.
stuff in the story.
Very cool.
So I'm pretty excited. And I've gotten a preview of some of the components, and the components are really awesome.
Cool.
I got
Very,
some
very
minis.
cool.
They're cool.
Awesome. Great. Well, Ryan, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Paul.
It was great talking to Ryan. I'm sorry you weren't there, Joe. He's a teacher as well, which you learned because you just listened to the interview.
Yeah, and you were telling me.
It was so cool.
It was an amazing interview.
I am really
I
bummed
loved
about.
it. I loved
I'm
every
really
moment
bummed.
of it.
And I haven't even played Scythe, and I really want to play it now.
Let's-
I'm hoping Joe's going to teach me how to play
Let's interview him again.
after it comes out.
Yeah, that'd be
Yes.
Wait, hasn't
maybe
come out
we play
yet?
a game
Maybe,
with
maybe we can come here and play it with him because he lives like down the street.
Oh, that'd be great.
Really?
Yeah.
And he's a teacher, you said.
He's a high school teacher, so he was great because I didn't know anything. He just kind of.
But what about the restraining order he got on you?
Well, yeah, there's that too. I got a lot of those.
Yeah. Yeah, you got a nice little collection on your wall.
Yes.
I'm framing them
Yeah.
very nicely.
Yes.
They're actually color coded by level of
Yes.
intensity. and
Strength,
degree,
yes.
That's like the national.
That's why
risk
no
thing.
one ever comes back for a second interview.
Why is that? I don't know.
It's weird.
Except for that Alex, he comes back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
he
like
likes
He
Alex.
mistrusts
Yeah.
us for some reason.
He does.
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay, so
Well, this bit's dead, so let's go. What else we got going on?
Moving on, we have another great interview from the segment of the show. I don't know what it's called.
Geeks Tabletop Game Review.
Geeks Tabletop Game Review with Kelly
yes.
and Doug, and they're going to talk about Rise of the Ganges.
All
Which will be
right.
really fun.
Well, let's check that out, guys.
Here we go.
Hey geeks, welcome to another Geeks Tabletop Game Review. I'm Kelly and this is Doug, and today we're reviewing...
Rajas of the Ganges.
I always mess it up.
I always mess it up. It's like this and Feast for Odin,
Feast for Odin.
not Feast of Odin.
Feast of... Well, no, I can't say Rajas of the the Ganges.
Of the Ganges, yeah.
Of the Ganges.
Because it's a different A sound in each word.
Yes.
It's weird. But yeah. So this is a new one from Marcus and Inca brand. They've done Village and My Village before. They also did the Escape the Runes from last year that won the Game of the Year. Game of the Year? Strategy Game of the Year? One of the Spiel awards.
Yeah. I think it was Strategy Game. Not the Game of the Year, but definitely Strategy Game.
It's got artwork from Dennis Lahausen. He's done
got
work.
like 60 some odd games under his belt, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's quite a long list. Most notably is Camel Up. He's also done work on multiple Dominion expansions, so you can see his artwork on some of those cards, which is pretty nice, yeah.
He's a decent artist. I mean, I love the artwork of this game. I would probably buy it just for the artwork.
I have done that on multiple games. And it's published by R&R Games.
Okay.
They've done, most notably, that I think you would know, is Hanabi, that Fireworks card game.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember games that I play.
Yep. They've also done some other strategy games, Mombasa and New Haven, that are somewhat similar in strategy to this, but not kind of the same gameplay. Okay. So, decent strategy publisher along those lines.
So this game is made for 2 to 4 players, and it has a flip board, so it does work with 2 players, and it does work with 3 players, and it does work with 4 players. However, at about half an hour to game time per player. It's a little ridiculous.
So what I've noticed about this is with the different sides of the boards, I haven't looked at it. I know that these are different here, but I don't know if the river spaces are different.
The amount of people who can go to the river space is different, and there's definitely 2 spaces there, and it adds this market space.
A second one of those market spaces.
I haven't compared the rivers either.
I haven't either. It's something to look at.
It is $50, and they do recommend 12
and
year
up.
Old, 12 and up.
$12.99 as the box says.
Right. So I guess my grandma can't play it.
Oh, I'm sorry. So in this game, players are represented as Rajas, that is kind of a ruling class in India, and they are working to improve their estates. I don't know.
They're small kings, or dukes, if you will.
That's a ruling class.
A ruling class.
So they're working to upgrade and maintain their estates, which are represented by their player boards that we have set up to the side. And you're also working, as you upgrade them and add new buildings to them, you also want to kind of balance the money that you're making as well as the fame that you're getting for having these buildings in your provinces. And we will take a look at that down here on the board.
Alright, so we have our board set up here. We've set it up for a 2-player game, and we have over here our player board, so you can look at all the interactions of the players there. So to start the game, we have set up, we put all these pieces where they're exactly supposed to go. So we have our river boats, our fame markers, our money markers, and then we have rewards that we can unlock that are out here as well, and meeples that we can unlock at the 20 money mark and the 15 fame mark.
And this spot on the river.
So as you progress, you'll get those meeples, and then you can have more workers. Why are you giving me first player?
Because based on how you put the money. So based on how Kelly put the money markers out here, first player starts on 3, and then everyone after them goes 1 space in front of the previous person.
You're always blue. No, I'm always blue. Thought I messed them up right.
You even have the blue pieces in front of
you.
you.
I do have the blue pieces in front of me. Alright, so in addition to all of those, we have some karma here, and we have our fame reward markers for building these different types of buildings.
Now there's also these special tokens on here that for the basic game that we're setting up, they have different rewards underneath them that we'll flip over and see. There's free dice that you can get, there's free money you can get, there's free karma you can get, and a free improvement for one of the building types. And these are all flipped over and shuffled and randomized.
So in an advanced game, you'll actually play with all 4 of these building types, and those tiles are here, out there as rewards. And they flip over so you can choose your reward that you're going to take.
Mm-hmm.
Those also correspond with the rewards over here on the player board. So if you build 2 of these spaces on the player board, you get that reward. In a more advanced game, they actually become other things, and some of them are blank, so that you can replace them with these rewards and build to them.
Yep. Now,
Also part of setup is
you
dice.
did decent, but I think you got the wrong side of the Cali statue. So in the basic game, we get 10 spaces for dice, and everyone starts with a dice of each color. We will roll them, and they get set into spaces on your Kali statue. And those are basically your resources for the game. They are used to activate abilities on the board, visiting some of these nobles over here. You can even spend the dice to gain other dice of different colors.
Yep.
They're useful when you visit the market to sell certain types of goods.
They also get used if you come over here to buy things on top of the market. They go to these tiles, the quarry, which allow you to get stone so you can build various types of buildings.
And this is what we were talking about in kind of growing your estate. You'll notice that everything around your building over there is just forest. So you'll be adding tiles to that to kind of gain you fame for having buildings, or possibly gain you money for having different types of markets.
Yeah, so these are market tents and these are buildings. So if you notice, there is 4 different types of buildings.
And
there
there's-
is. Found it. The 4th type.
And there's 3 different types of goods.
Yep.
It looks like tea, linen, and
Spices.
spices.
Or corn. Probably spices.
I'm thinking spices, yeah. So on your turn, you're going to take one of your meeples. Kelly, you are first, so you get to choose what you want to do. And you can place it on any space available on the board. Like I said, you have these nobles you can visit here. You can gain extra dice down here. You can go to the quarry to build. You can go to the markets to gain money based on if you have markets on your player board. Or you can visit here at the river space to go up the river. The very basic things that you can do is get more dice. Down here, there's 4 spaces for the 2-player side to get a single die, which is free.
Yep.
And there's 4 spaces over here to spend a die. Anytime you place your worker on a space that has something inside that space, that is basically what you have to pay or give up from your player board in order to go there.
So looking over here, I rolled pretty high dice here, so we can, or Doug rolled them for me. We're going to try and go for one of these tiles. So I want 2 more green or 2 more orange. So I'm going to trade in my purple for 2 green. So my guy goes down here and I get 2 more green dice. Those get back to the pile and I roll these dice. Not bad, that was a 3. So we now have the 10 required, adding all those up together for this here.
Yeah. There's also a space here that you can place there, get 2 money, and re-roll any number of dice that you have in case you have really bad numbers and don't like them. Yeah. Also, whenever you spend a dice for any action out on the board besides that one, you can spend one of your karma points to turn that die over. So 1 becomes a 6, 2 becomes a 5, 3 becomes a 4, anything like that. That way you can, if you say you wanted to get that 10 and you had a 6 and a 2, you could take the 6 and flip over the 2 by spending a karma. And you can have at max 3 karma at any time.
And it is flip, not
choose a side.
Not choose a side. It is flip the dice over.
Yeah.
Next, we can go and buy things. So the first person to move here, it costs 1. So we'd move myself down and to spend the 1. And then we can build this awesome tile. So we have to build it where our roads always connect back to our palace, is the word. So it always has to connect back to the palace. So I could place it here, here, or here. And depending on which reward I want to get or work towards. So I would get it instantaneously. I would spend all of these dice. For the
Yeah, there are no refunds on spending dice.
No refunds on spending dice. And then I would immediately get 3 money back. And I get 3 money for building this tent.
So you get 3 money for the tent, and then 3 money for completing that.
For getting
rewards.
that reward.
Yep.
So the final thing we might want to do with our turn, we could either go to market, where we could spend a dice to sell that many tents worth of goods. So I could spend a 1 to sell 1 tent's worth of good, or I can try and sell 3 different goods for free. That would net me 3 gold. Don't think I want to do that yet. I don't have many markets, so we're going to probably do something else. We could pay the ferryman to move our boat up 1, 2, or 3 spaces, depending on what die face I hand the ferryman. However, I can only go to the ferry if I have a 1, 2, or 3. I don't. I have 2 5s.
Mm-hmm. And spending the 1, 2, or 3. If you spend the 1, you move 1. You basically move up to the number that's on the die. Always moving at least 1.
So then we come to some of our fellow Rajas. This guy here, he takes only 1s, but he gives you the first player token and 2 fame. This one takes only 2s, but she'll give you 2 dice of any color and a token of your choice.
And that's how you get the tokens in the basic game.
That's how you get your tokens in the advanced game too. You can just choose which one.
Yeah, there's other ways in the advanced game, but we haven't talked about it a bit yet. For a 3 die, you can get 2 karma and another die back, so it's kind of, you can change colors, possibly change values.
Yeah.
A 4 lets you improve any of these fame rewards for the different types of buildings, plus it gets you 3 money.
I think it's blueprints. It gives you better blueprints so you can build better palaces and windmills.
Yeah, something like that. The 5 and the 5 is the most kind of intricate one. That requires you to have another tile on your estate. It lets you spend a 5 to basically build over a previously placed tile.
So what we could have done, if we had enough green to do it, would be to build this first, score for building those buildings, and then build on top of it to have the market.
Yeah. The 5 that you discard will always count towards the tile that you want to purchase. But you still also have to spend
But we don't have any green.
dice colors to
we
match
can't do
that
that.
tile. So you could purchase with your 5s there, you could purchase either of the orange 10s or that purple 9 down there.
So we could spend the blue 5 to add it to our red or orange 5 to build this over here. Or no, we
Nope,
have to
you
go on
gotta
top.
build it on top.
I don't want to build it on top.
yeah.
I really don't.
That's why it's one of those intricate ones. It's ones you want to build most likely over those buildings.
But it also lets you go and get things that you didn't have before. Like, say you were over here, because you can place these in any orientation, and you completely miss this reward. Well, now you can go back and get it and improve.
Mm-hmm. But you also have to maintain the path back to your palace.
Yes, which I thought I did. So, for my third placement, I think what we'll do is we're going to spend a karma.
We skip the 6.
Oh, we skip the 6.
The 6 lets you move exactly 6 spaces on the river track. Now this is 6 unoccupied spaces.
Unoccupied is important.
So if Kelly's all the way up here and I want to go here and spend a 6, I move 1, 2, 3, hop over her for 4, 5, 6, and I would get 4 money. Boom.
Cool. So I think what we're going to do is, for the third action, is spend a karma to flip. Let's see. We're going to keep the orange one. We're going to flip this into a 2 and send our meeple over to the 2, spending our 2 to get 2 dice and an instant reward. And our instant reward is 3 monies. I knocked over some things.
Oh, you're blue, aren't you? That puts you just short of this money bonus.
Well, it's not a money bonus. It's actually a river bonus.
Well, it's on the money track, so getting a certain amount of money gets you a bonus. The first ones here are on the 12 money space. They get you a free movement on the river. Once you cross it, you will take your marker. It flips over, and it moves to the next bonus space. Now, when it flips over, when you cross this one, you get 2 dice.
Of any color.
Of any color.
And then it moves over
to
44, and then over to 55.
And then once you cross that one, it just comes off the board.
Yep. So we do also have rewards on the fame track. So at 5, we get a level up on our architecture scrolls. And then we get
15,
meeples.
You get your other meeples.
And at
24,
we get 2 karma. And then at 31, we get a river spot.
Yeah. Now, some things that we didn't kind of talk about for this basic game. As you start to unlock your meeples around the board, in the basic game, you can only ever have at most 5 of your meeples. If you gain a 2 off the board, as I'm grabbing yours, then the last one that's on the board gets removed and goes back to the box.
Bye.
So basically, players play 1 worker at a time around the board. We'll put these back because they're your extras.
But now I have to go find the one that I threw over there.
That's fine, don't worry about it. You basically play until everyone has played their meeples.
So if you get a meeple for crossing a various point on the tracks, you get to play it immediately on that turn. And the next time that so you keep playing. It goes into your pool of workers, and you can keep putting workers out there so long as you have workers.
Yeah, and then once everyone's placed their workers, the round is over. You'll take back all of your workers off the board on spaces, and then you'll start a new round.
Yep.
Now, the way that this game plays, there's a nice balance between playing the game and ending the game, where we have these 2 different tracks around the edge of the board. One counts money, which you will always be spending and earning, and one counts fame, going the opposite direction. And this is fame for doing certain spaces on
building these give you fame. You can earn fame.
Yeah, spaces on the river
Spaces
board.
on the river.
Taking the first player marker gets you a couple fame.
Yep.
Now you play the game until one person has crossed their money with their fame. And that could happen any space on the board. Kelly could ramp into a bunch of money.
It's touching, actually. So this is an end of game condition. This is also an end of game condition.
And I could be all the way over here with like 36 money, but a whole bunch of fame. It wouldn't matter.
The first guy we played had like 18 fame, and he had like 96 some odd money. It was ridiculous.
That was one of the things that first time playing, we didn't really catch it at first, but it's something that
he just kept building markets and then taking things to market.
Mm-hmm.
I think he ended up making like 2 or 3 market trips a turn.
Yeah. That's a definite strategy if no one else is doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a really nice end of game trigger that I like. It's different than a lot of things. And the way that ties work, it's a little bit weird.
It's kind of
delicate.
Whoever did it first, and then if you tie, because you finish the round, so if you tie, it's whoever crossed the most.
Mm-hmm. So if I'm here, and let's do a reasonable amount of money for you based on where you were. I mean, you could have shot ahead by like 12. I don't know. But you're counting the number of fame spaces that you were.
Yeah.
Which I think we're tied here. Second tiebreaker is just whoever triggered end of game first.
Well, no, because I'm only 1 past the token that my thing is on, and you are 2 past the thing that your token is on. So that would be...
No, I'm 1 fame ahead of my fame.
Is it fame? Well, you're 2 money ahead of your fame, and I am only 1 money ahead of my fame.
Okay. It's a little bit weird.
It's the crossing point.
Yeah.
So this would be your 1, 2, 3, 4, as opposed
That
to
makes
1,
sense,
2,
yeah.
3.
So we will be right back with our pros and cons.
All right, Doug. Favorite thing about the game?
The end game, the whole scoring thing.
How it ends?
I like it. That's kind of what drew me to it the first time.
I'm trying to think of any other games that kind of end that way. Of somebody doing so well that they cross the certain... I mean, there's ones where you cross the finish line, but...
There's... Isn't it Lords of Vegas?
I've never played Lords of Vegas.
I haven't played Lords of Vegas. I've only played a couple times, and it's been so long. But it's something like that. I mean, Viticulture, it's you reach a certain amount of points. One of those kinds of games.
Okay.
But there's so few ways to get... Not really a few ways to get points. It's such a low score. I think it's like 12 points to end the game.
Okay.
So...
All right. What do you hate the most about it?
What do I hate the most about it? You can get punished quite a bit for kind of lagging behind. Like you were talking about before, the guy that just had all of those markets and was kind of gaining a bunch of money. It is possible
to flounder in this game.
A little bit, yeah, and that's something to worry about too. you gotta work on making fame and also making money so you can do actions with that money. I mean, that first game, you and I were both here just hanging around in the 20s.
Well, we were also
20s.
playing incorrectly. We weren't getting money every time we built a market. We were only getting money when we went to market.
But in that case, it kind of balances out that we didn't get that money a little bit.
A little bit?
hmm I mean, building the ones with multiple markets on it, yeah, you're missing out on all of that extra income.
Yeah.
But
I just found it was really easy to spend all your dice and forget to get dice back.
yes, that is another thing to worry about, is making sure
Very,
that you
very
have
easy.
your dice to do actions is something to definitely worry about. I do like that there's a lot of replayability. There's,
There's, like,
the
little
basic
options for, like,
game.
This thing.
There's the advanced game where we have these extra tokens, which if you play this advanced game, you can also have up to 6 of your workers. There's also another one where, like you said, you have
These little river tiles.
river tiles that you put out randomly on the river track by rolling dice until you either reach the end of it or you've placed all of them.
Yeah.
There's even, if you're playing a 3-player game, we didn't go through these. These cover up the first space on the river tile
And the
on the other
market.
side, and the one on the market on the other side. Because there's elephants there. Is what they are.
I like the fact that it's not a space anymore.
Yeah, because there's elephants there.
Yeah. So it makes those spots a little more expensive. I think it's... So my least favorite thing about this one is it's very easy to fall behind. If you're floundering at all, it doesn't let you back up. Especially if you're playing with an opponent like Doug, who picks those places where you need to go so you can get your dice back as quick as possible. And he's just like, oh, nope, I'm going to go take this space that gives me 2 things. And then I'm going to take this other space. That...
I mean, that 2 space is like one of the best spaces.
If somebody is not on that 2 space where you spend 1 die to get 2, that is, except down here, where you have to pick your color of dice. But you have to have dice to spend to do that. So if you don't have any dice, you can't even come here. You have to, like, hope you go up the river a little bit or come over here to these single space of dices. And then you pick the purple one. And then Doug's like, no, I'm going to spend my purple one to get 2 green dice. And ah.
Yeah, it's a lot of things that people will definitely take the space that you're looking at.
Oh, absolutely. It's very easy to keep somebody down once they're down. On the other hand,
It's also easy to
it
come
takes
back.
a lot of coordination in a multiplayer game to do that. You have to kind of... It's worse than not trading somebody sheep in Settlers of Catan and just everybody agreeing that nobody's going to give him sheep. However, in this game, I guess my favorite thing is there's a lot of different things that you can do to come back from it. You can play the river, you can go to the Ganges, you can build a ton of markets. There's a lot of different things that you can do to get wiggle around your opponents because they can't keep you down for long, and eventually it will start hurting them to do so. And they will need to go to market instead of taking those dice paces eventually. So you can come back.
The things we never dealt with too much were these end of the river ones that are... There's 4 different market spaces here.
That was the other thing that guy was doing, is he had all those markets on his player board that camera's not on anymore. So he had all those markets on his player board. So he would go to the river, spend a 1, and then spend a 2. So he would hit all of these upper markets and then go to the market twice. So he was hitting the market 2 or 3 times a turn easily.
And that's something to also watch out for, is you see someone...
It took him an hour to get that point, though.
A little bit, yeah, but he was also, racking up money and then spending it to kind of buy some of the tiles that he would need to kind of increase his fame slowly but surely all the way up to the point where...
I think it was like he got his fame accidentally through the river spaces so he could get up here and do market stuff. It wasn't like he was going for fame.
Yeah, so there's lots of strategies to start with. I think the one game that we tied.
Oh, we did tie.
I think our second game where we played it correctly, we both tied. Actually tied.
We had 2 different strategies, though.
We did, yeah. I started off with increasing fame early on, and then dealing with money later. Where I think you still dealt with money.
I was doing the market
decently.
stuff because I was watching that other guy and seeing it work.
Yeah, exactly.
Tried the market stuff, and you're like, I'm just gonna increase all of these things and just build a bunch of things, and that's all you kind of did. So your fame was all the way up here, but your money was down there, and my money was up here, and my fame was kind of somewhere. Because some of these tiles do have
both of them
markets and pieces on them.
And I think that's one thing that I got to during like our 4th or 5th playthrough when we started doing the advanced rules is early game, get some of the markets so you have an option for income.
A space.
Yeah.
You can start using these spaces, if nothing else.
Yeah. So there's definitely lots of ways to play the game, at least in an early game, and then kind of evolving over that towards the late game. So
definitely changing your strategy based on your opponent's strategy. Oh, he's getting purple dice. I guess I'm not going to get any purple dice to buy these things.
You can just go for what they're not doing. Things like that. Yeah, that's great. So thanks for tuning in again.
Absolutely.
If you got any recommendations for us to review or want to see us play something else, shoot us a line on Facebook or on Twitter. We got that out.
Yes.
I think the last one we did was Feudum. I don't know what we're doing next. We are kind of deciding on what we want to do. So if you got something for us, let us know. I know we're playing Starfinder in a few weeks, but I don't know if we're going to review that next. We've got something. I think we'll have something picked out for the next review that you'll enjoy.
Mummies and Clank.
Ooh, I think that'll be the one. All right, thanks, guys.
Rajas of the Ganges. That was great.
That's great. And Kelly does, again,
They do an amazing
knock
job.
it out of the park.
They do an amazing job.
I really do like their reviews.
Yeah,
and they're
they're
fun to
really
play
fun,
games with,
yes.
too.
Well, we still need to do the Starfinder, which we're going to do.
Yes.
Oh, I'm
We are
working on
going
it.
to do.
We're
We are
gonna
going
do
to
Star-
do.
I want to know more about that
Yes.
myself. For me being
too.
it's just such an
Right.
RPG noob. That is, like I talked about, I'm not into like the fantasy theme. So I've
Yeah.
tried D&D numerous times. I just don't get into it because of the theme as much.
Mm-hmm.
But I love the aspect of a sci-fi theme, and so
Well, we're going to try to put
sounds cool.
together an hour episode. We're going to actually make it part of our special, and then we'll do a little review of it.
cool.
It's going to be great.
I'm down.
And on that note, if you want us to do a game review,
Yes.
or if you just want to ask us a question, contact us at geeksofcascadia@gmail.com or Facebook us at Geeks of Cascadia. We also even do Twitter.
Even Twitter and Instagram.
Oh, and we do
Instagram happens.
See how cool we
It's
are?
hard to
We're
cut-
super cool.
Yeah,
with that.
we're, yes, we're super cool.
But what we really, really, really would like for you to do is to rate us on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher. Give us 5
Facebook.
stars.
Yeah.
Facebook.
Or be honest, so we can grow.
Well, be honest about the comments, but not about the stars.
And if you're watching,
Give us five.
if you're watching on YouTube and you like it, please give it a thumbs up.
Yeah, or say
Yeah.
something.
And thank you to all of the new watchers on YouTube because we got a whole bunch last week. That
Yeah,
was
we
great.
did.
Yeah,
we did.
impressive.
I'm not sure what happened. Maybe you accidentally collected or something. That is
Over
fantastic.
and
Yes.
over and over and just kept.
And you know what'd be better?
Like the one person that just
Uh-huh.
is helping us out by just
Yes.
Oh,
watching
we
and
just
watching
have
and
yes.
one stalker watching 43 times.
Well, if you could
Thank
too,
you, Stalker.
subscribe
Thank you, Stalker.
to our podcast, subscribe to our YouTube, and guess what? You don't even have to watch or listen to it. Just so you got to subscribe.
start
So
it-
what's
start it and
great
walk away.
for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But please, 5 stars.
That's right.
iTunes.
By the way, guys,
you.
I saw the movie today, Solo.
Oh yes.
Did you see Solo?
I have not seen Solo.
I was
That's
supposed to go
great.
yesterday. I wasn't feeling
I'm really
well,
excited.
and I missed it.
I won't say anything.
And now I'm on vacation and I can't go see it. And then I have worked 9 days in a row and I can't go see it.
Oh my
Right.
goodness, you gotta
Right.
see it.
I know. It's going to be a couple weeks.
Okay, have you guys seen Deadpool 2?
Oh yeah.
No.
We can't even talk
That's going
anymore.
to be on my.
I was
we
like-
can talk about it.
I was like
I don't mind spoilers. for
Opening
that.
day for that one, I think.
That was
is when I
great.
went. Yeah.
Oh man,
It
that
was
amazing.
I was really impressed. Cable has always
Mm-hmm.
been one of my favorite characters ever since the honestly the 93 X-Men show, where they kind of did this Days of Future Past-esque storyline, but instead it was Cable from the future
Okay.
who had to go
Mm-hmm.
back and kill somebody to save the future. Really, really, really good. So just having what's his name, Josh Brolin
Mhm,
as
yeah.
Cable was just
He did an amazing
amazing.
job.
And
He's a
I
great
loved
actor.
and this doesn't ruin anything, but I just love it when, just like the stabs they make at other movies, like they did something and I think he comes out and Deadpool's like Thanos, or says something like this because he plays Thanos in the Marvel movie.
Yeah.
So there's just like there's like a million little Easter eggs like that.
Okay.
And it's
I thought Domino stole the show.
she's amazing.
She
Yeah,
was great.
yeah, her and Cable. I mean, Deadpool's great, of course, but the thing is, that's what happens with like Ryan Reynolds, and he's always wanted to make it. It was his baby, and I don't know if I told you like the story with him, but when he was younger, it was years and years and years before he even did Deadpool, the failed Deadpool and the Wolverine Origins. He was reading a comic, a Deadpool comic, and in the comic somebody said, "What did you look like before all the cancer hit you?" And he said, "I looked like a mix of it was somebody and Ryan Reynolds." And he said
wow.
he read that and he was like, "What? That's it. I gotta be him," because he's been a Deadpool comic reader well before the movies. He's just always on the character. So
You know what I don't get?
and he's a producer. He helps write the story like it is his baby.
What I don't get is everyone knows what happens at the end of Marvel movies.
Yeah.
At the end of Deadpool 2, people were walking out. And it's like,
Yeah.
hey, what are you doing?
I walked
we
out-
still,
I
we
walked
still
out of
got stuff
Infinity
going
Wars.
on. What?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay, let me.
It wasn't going to be a joke. It's like, meh. I know what happened.
Here's a
but
tip.
it wasn't
You didn't
gonna-
like Infinity War?
I liked it. I didn't stay for the end thing after the credits.
If you're going to send hate email because
That's
Paul doesn't
Paul.
like
Still Paul
Infinity War,
on
don't
Twitter.
send
Well,
Geeks
At
of-
still Paul.
Paul,
Yeah, do just
you missed the after credit scene where what happens is you see Scarlet Witch go, and she wakes up. And it turns out it was all a dream.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
too bad. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
But here's a good trick. Here's a good trick for any movie. Don't leave till they turn the lights back on at the max level in theaters, because if there's an after credit scene, they won't do it
Okay.
until it's over. And so after that is when they start raising the lights. So that's a good trick.
Well, that's a good tip.
All right.
The more you know.
That's right. Rainbow. Well, I think that's all we got for today.
That's right.
So I think we'll do my send off, which is basically embrace the nerd, and I hope to make that saving throw.
What the heck is OrcaCon? Analog gaming convention, 3 days of gaming.
All levels of gamers. Board games. Dragons. Magic. Dice.
You have been listening to the OrcaCon Pod podcast with Steve Hobbs, Joe Costa, and Paul Anderson.